I always thought that unrequited love was the most painful thing. But when the person you trusted with your deepest secrets betrays you, the pain is different. Then everything hurts. Those were the first words Alex ever said to me. It was late August, my first night in Chicago, my first night in a dorm room that still smelled like paint and someone else's summer. I was halfway through unpacking when he walked in, confident, unreadable, already at home in a place I hadn't even adjusted to. He tossed his bag on the bed opposite mine and said it like a warning, like I'd walked in on a secret I hadn't earned the right to know. I just blinked at him. Okay? I talk in my sleep, he added, as if that explained anything. Weird stuff. Don't make it weird. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. He was the kind of person who didn't ask for permission to take up space. He just assumed it was his. And somehow, that made me want to be careful around him. Not because he scared me, but because I already knew he was the kind of person who could hurt you without meaning to. He didn't ask for my name, just nodded at my half-unpacked posters and said, "You're into movies. Cool." That was it. He turned away, and the silence between us settled like thick dust. I hated it. I wasn't ready to live in someone else's quiet, but I also didn't know how to break it. The next morning he was gone before I woke up. No note, no sound, just an empty bed and the lingering scent of cheap coffee. I thought maybe I'd imagined the whole interaction, but that afternoon he was back, sitting cross-legged on his bed, tapping something into his phone with surgical precision. He didn't look up. "You're from Iowa, right?" I froze. "Yeah, how'd you—" "Your hoodie, small-town school name. Instagram did the rest." He finally looked up then, smirked, like he enjoyed the fact that I was startled. "Don't worry," he said. "I don't care. Just wanted to see if I was right." That was Alex. Intense when he wanted to be, distant when you needed him not to be. Every word felt like a test, and I never knew the rules. Still, we started talking. Slowly, clumsily. I told him about my town, the one with 2 stoplights and 1 church that rang bells even on Mondays. He told me about Chicago, how the noise kept him awake when he was a kid, but now he couldn't sleep without it. "You'll get used to it," he said. I wasn't sure if he meant the city or him. 2 weeks in, things got complicated. It was past midnight. We were both still awake, pretending to study, too restless to sleep. A storm rolled in, fast, loud, violent. Wind howled through the cracked window. Then everything went dark. Campus blackout. I fumbled for my phone. He didn't move, just lay back on his bed and stared at the ceiling like the world hadn't just vanished around us. "This city," he muttered, "always falling apart." I laughed and he turned toward me, surprised, like he hadn't realized I could do that. Laugh, like I wasn't just some silent farm kid playing college tourist. "You ever been kissed?" he asked suddenly. The question dropped like glass shattering. I blinked. "What?" "Just a question. Doesn't have to mean anything." I hesitated. My throat dried up. "No," I said. He nodded, rolled onto his side. That's what I thought. I didn't know if I was supposed to feel insulted, but I didn't. I just felt exposed. "You?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. The rain pounded harder. "Yeah," he said finally, and I regretted it. I wanted to ask why. I didn't. Something told me that silence was safer. After that, we didn't talk for a while. Just lay there, 2 strangers in the dark, pretending we weren't wondering the same thing. Eventually he said, "You ever wish you could be someone else?" "Yeah," I whispered. "Me too." The next night he came back late, his hoodie soaked, shoes muddy. He didn't say where he'd been. He didn't have to. His eyes were red, but not from the rain. "Rough day?" I asked, careful. He ignored the question, dropped onto his bed like his body had given up. After a moment he said, "My dad found some texts, old ones, from last year." I didn't speak. He rubbed his face with both hands. He said I'm broken, that he failed as a father. I didn't know what to say. What do you say when someone tells you they've been disowned without using the word? I got up, sat on the edge of my bed, close enough that he could feel I was there. Not touching, just present. He didn't cry, just stared at the ceiling like he wanted to punch through it. "You're not broken," I said. He looked at me then, Really looked. Like he was trying to figure out if I meant it. And maybe I didn't fully understand, but I wanted to. You sure about that? He whispered. Yeah. He didn't answer. Just turned his face away. But when I woke up the next morning, he was still there. And that felt like a beginning. After that night, something shifted. We didn't talk about what Alex told me. He didn't bring it up again. I didn't push. But the air between us was different, charged. Like something invisible had cracked open, and we were both pretending not to see the pieces. He was quieter. Not cold, just dulled. Like someone had turned the brightness down on him, and he hadn't figured out how to switch it back. Sometimes I'd find him staring out the window, headphones in, watching the city like he was somewhere else. I wondered if he even heard the music, or if it was just a way to mute the world. One night while I was brushing my teeth, he said out of nowhere, "Do you think people can change who they are?" Mouth full of foam, I blinked at him in the mirror. "I mean really change," he added. "Not pretend. Actually become someone else." I spat into the sink. "Why would you want to?" He shrugged. "Maybe I don't." But he did, I could tell. The next week he started hanging out with a new group, guys from his psych class. They were loud, sarcastic, all athletic energy and ironic mustaches. I didn't like them, mostly because around them, Alex became someone else. He laughed too hard, bragged about things I knew weren't true, called me Rumi in a voice that didn't sound like him. They didn't know. About him, about the night of the storm, about the weight he carried. And I watched him hide one joke at a time. It hurt in a way I didn't know how to name. A month passed. I was walking back from a study session when I saw them. Alex and one of the guys from his new crew, leaning against a wall behind the library, smoking, laughing. The guy touched Alex's shoulder. It lingered too long to be casual. Jealousy bloomed so fast it made my chest ache. That night I didn't speak to him. I couldn't. But he noticed. "Something wrong?" he asked, setting his phone down. I shook my head. "You seem busy these days." He raised an eyebrow. "Are you mad I have friends?" "That's not what I said." "But it's what you meant." He was daring me to say it, to say that I missed him, that I didn't like who he became when he left our room. But I couldn't. My voice dried up, and all I managed was, "Forget it." He didn't push. He just went back to his phone, and I hated that silence more than any fight. 2 days later, I came back early from class and froze in the doorway. Alex was sitting on his bed with a girl on his lap. I didn't recognize her. She was laughing, playing with the strings on his hoodie. He looked up when I entered. Our eyes met. He didn't move. I turned around and walked out. Later, he found me in the laundry room. "You're mad." "No," I said. "I'm tired." He leaned against the dryer, arms folded. "It didn't mean anything." "Didn't look that way." "I thought we weren't doing this, labeling things." "We're not," I snapped. "Apparently we're doing whatever the hell you want, and I'm just supposed to shut up about it." He looked away. "You knew what this was." "I thought I did." And maybe that was my mistake. Believing that what we had, those long nights, the soft silences, the honesty, meant something. He shoved his hands into his pockets. "I don't owe you an explanation." "No," I said. "You don't. And I don't owe you this friendship either." I walked away. This time he didn't follow. The next week was brutal. We coexisted in the room like strangers. He'd come and go without a word. I stopped leaving my side of the room, started sleeping with headphones in, anything to block him out. But it didn't work. His presence was everywhere. In the empty coffee mugs, the scent of his shampoo, the jacket slung over his chair, a ghost that refused to leave. I missed him more than I wanted to admit, but I was also angry, furious at how easily he could shut me out, at how quick he was to bury what we had just to fit into someone else's expectations. What hurt most wasn't the kiss he gave someone else. It was that he couldn't even be honest with me about it. Then one night, a note appeared on my pillow. If I knew how to say sorry, I would, but I don't. So this is all I've got. It wasn't signed. It didn't need to be. I read it 3 times. Then I crumpled it up and threw it away. Because sorry doesn't fix the kind of silence that breaks trust. Because some things once cracked, Don't go back to what they were. But as I lay awake that night, listening to the soft rhythm of his breathing in the bed across from mine, I realized something else. I wasn't just hurt because he let me down. I was hurt because I let myself believe he wouldn't. The days after the note stretched thin. We spoke only when necessary, short, clipped sentences about class, shared chores, or nothing at all. I told myself I didn't care anymore, that the version of him I'd once needed no longer existed. But the worst kind of distance is the one you still feel when someone's 3 feet away. One evening I came back from a late film club meeting and found him asleep at his desk, head resting on his folded arms, his laptop still playing something quietly. A documentary, probably. I stood there longer than I should have, just watching, wanting to feel nothing, failing. Later that night, I lay in bed with my eyes closed, pretending. The air between us was still, but something about it felt heavier than before, like words were hovering just beneath the surface, begging to break through. "You're still mad," he said quietly. I opened my eyes. "No, you should be." I didn't answer. He sat up. "I wasn't trying to hurt you." "Didn't stop you," I replied, voice flat. He exhaled. "You don't understand what it's like." That was the wrong thing to say. I sat up, turning to face him. "Don't do that. Don't make this about how hard it is for you. You think this is easy?" "I think you chose comfort over honesty," I said, "and you used me as your rehearsal space." He winced. "That's not fair." "No, it's not. But neither was what you did." He didn't try to argue after that, just nodded once, like he knew there was nothing he could say that wouldn't sound like another excuse. We didn't talk again for days. Then came the campus protest. It wasn't about us. It was about a professor caught making homophobic remarks during a lecture. Students were furious. Flyers went up overnight. There was a march scheduled for Friday. People were showing up, speaking out. I didn't expect Alex to go, but he did. He walked beside me, hands buried in his pockets, eyes focused straight ahead. We didn't speak, not even when people around us chanted slogans or carried signs high over their heads. Halfway through the march, it started raining. Some people left. Others just shouted louder. Alex didn't flinch. When it was over and the crowd began to disperse, he turned to me. "Why'd you come?" I looked at him. "Because I don't want to be afraid anymore." He nodded slowly. "Me neither." It was the first real thing he'd said in weeks. That night, he knocked on my door before coming in, something he hadn't done since the first week we met. He stood awkwardly near the entrance, as if waiting for permission to speak. "I'm not good at this," he said. "I know. But I miss you." That caught me off guard. He kept talking. "I don't know how to be honest without destroying things. I grew up learning how to hide. My parents made it clear what wasn't acceptable. And when I met you, He stopped, swallowed. "You made it feel safe to want something different." I stayed quiet, not because I didn't want to say anything, but because I didn't know how to carry the weight of that sentence. I panicked, he admitted. I tried to prove to everyone else that I wasn't what they thought, that I wasn't what I was scared of. I looked at him, tired. "And you proved it by letting me take the hit." "I know." He stepped closer. "I can't undo what happened," he said, "but I can stop lying. Starting now." I folded my arms. "And what does that mean?" "It means I'm not going to pretend anymore. Not for them, not for anyone." A pause. "Not even for you." That last part hit harder than I expected. I nodded slowly. "That's a start." He didn't ask for more than that. Maybe he knew better now. The next morning he skipped his usual class. Stayed in, quiet, focused. I did the same. We didn't talk about us. Not directly. But the silence was different this time. It wasn't angry. It wasn't full of things unsaid. It just was. Like we'd both run out of reasons to pretend. And the truth was finally enough to share space again. Later that night, as we sat on the floor, sorting through shared textbooks for finals, he reached for the same notebook I did. Our hands brushed. We both froze. He didn't pull away. "I still don't know what this is," he said. "I don't either," I replied. "But I want to figure it out." That was all he said. No promises, no apologies, just truth. And maybe that was finally enough. The quiet didn't last. It never does. Not when people start paying attention. A week before finals, a photo made its way through campus group chats. Just one picture. Blurry, low light. Me and Alex sitting close outside the student center. Heads leaned together, his hand barely brushing my knee. Someone had taken it without us noticing. The caption underneath was a joke. Crude. Dismissive. By the next morning, it had spread everywhere. I found out when I opened my phone and saw my name tagged in a meme thread. Alex found out in the middle of chemistry lab. I watched him walk in, phone still in his hand, face unreadable. He didn't look at me, didn't say a word, just sat down, opened his notes, and started writing like nothing had changed. But everything had. We didn't talk that day, or the day after. Around campus, people stared longer than usual. Some whispered when we passed. One guy from Alex's psych group made a snide comment when we walked by the cafeteria. I turned. Alex didn't. He kept walking. At night, our room was heavy with silence again. But this time, it wasn't the kind that held safety. It was avoidance. On the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. "You're not going to say anything?" I asked. He didn't look up. "About what?" I blinked. "Are you serious?" He finally met my eyes. "What do you want me to say?" "Anything. That you're mad, that you're scared, that you hate the way everyone's looking at us." His jaw tightened. "I've been through worse." "That's not the point," I said, voice rising. "You told me you were done hiding." He stood up, pushing the chair back too fast. "I didn't expect to be outed in a meme. So now you're back to pretending I don't exist?" He flinched. "That's not fair," he said. "Neither is this," I shot back. "I'm the one being laughed at in public. I'm the one being called names behind my back. And you think it's easier for me?" He snapped. "You think I don't see what they're saying about me?" My phone hasn't stopped blowing up. Half the guys in my group chat bailed. One of them sent it to my brother. He stopped. Regret hit his face like a punch. "He sent it to your family?" I asked, voice low. Alex nodded, slowly. I sat down. My anger drained faster than I expected. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. He didn't reply, just leaned against the wall, head in his hands. The next day, his mom showed up on campus. I came back from a study session and found her standing outside our building, talking to him in a voice that looked calm from a distance, but didn't sound that way when I got closer. She glanced at me once, long enough to make her opinion known. Then she turned back to him and said, "I hope this isn't permanent." After she left, he didn't come back to the room for hours. When he finally did, his eyes were glassy, but he didn't cry. "I don't know if I'm going home this summer," he said. I nodded. "I get it." "No, you don't." He sat on the floor across from me. His voice was calm, but I could feel the shaking underneath. "My dad said I should transfer, that I clearly need time to figure things out. My brother said it's not safe for me back home right now." I swallowed hard. "What are you going to do?" He looked at me. "I don't know." Then quieter. "I feel like I lost everything in 2 days." "You didn't lose me," I said. He looked away. "Maybe that's why it hurts." We didn't speak again for a while. I didn't know how to fix it. I wasn't sure it could be fixed, but I knew what silence did to people, how it grew like mold in the corners of your life, feeding off things you never said. So I said it. "I care about you," I told him, "and not just when it's easy." He looked back at me slowly. "I care too," he said. "That's the problem." The fallout didn't go away. The photo stopped circulating, but the looks didn't. Neither did the jokes, or the awkward pauses when we walked into a room. Alex started skipping class, said it was fine, that he just needed space. But one morning I woke up and he was gone. No text, no note, just a stripped bed and silence. Panic settled in before I could stop it. He wasn't in the cafeteria, not in the library, not in his usual spot by the gym. I called twice. No answer. By the time I reached the campus counseling center, my hands were shaking. The receptionist asked if it was an emergency. I said yes. It took 6 hours before he came back. His hoodie was damp from the rain. He looked exhausted. "I went for a walk," he said. "Didn't mean to disappear." I didn't yell, didn't guilt him. I just sat down next to him and said, "Don't do that again." I didn't think anyone would notice. "I notice." He didn't speak, just looked at the floor like he was trying to find an answer there. I didn't need him to say anything else. I just needed him to stay. Spring came late that year. Maybe it just felt late. Everything moved slower after the fallout. Classes, weekends, even time itself. But finals didn't wait. Deadlines crept in like clockwork. No one cared who was hurting. Professors still assigned papers. Cafeterias still closed at 10. Life kept moving. Alex didn't transfer. He almost did. I found the paperwork on his desk one night. He didn't try to hide it. He just looked at me and said, "I needed a backup plan." I nodded. "Is it still your plan?" He stared at the form for a while before folding it in half and tossing it into the trash. "Not today." That was enough for now. We didn't put labels on what we were. Not because we were afraid, but because it didn't matter anymore. Some days we didn't talk at all. Some days we laughed like nothing had ever gone wrong. Most days lived somewhere in between. Quiet, careful, real. He started going back to class. Slowly. He kept his head down. People still stared sometimes, but less than before. The photos stopped being a topic. A new scandal took its place, as they always do. College is good at moving on, even when you're not. One evening after a long study session, he asked, "Do you regret it?" I didn't have to ask what he meant. "No," I said. "Do you?" He shook his head. "I just regret not being ready sooner." "You got there." "Did I?" I looked at him. "You stayed." When move-out week arrived, the air in our dorm thickened with goodbye. Boxes piled up, doors stayed open longer. People hugged, signed yearbooks, made promises they wouldn't keep. I watched it all from our window and realized how much of this place had been shaped by one room, one person, one quiet collision of two messy lives. We packed in silence. Clothes, books, pieces of a year we both survived. He paused once, holding the same photo someone had used to humiliate us. This time, he looked at it differently. "I hated this picture," he said. I waited. "But now? I don't know. We don't look scared in it." I took it from his hands. He was right. We didn't. "I think we look like ourselves," I said. On our last night in the dorm, he didn't sleep in his bed. He pulled his blanket to the floor and lay beside me. We didn't touch. We didn't have to. "Next year is going to be different," he whispered. "Yeah." He glanced at me. "Do you think we'll still talk?" "I think we'll try." He smiled just a little. "I'm tired of pretending that trying isn't enough." So we didn't promise anything. We didn't say we'd be forever. We didn't say we were in love. But we said enough. "I'm glad I met you," I told him. He nodded. "You helped me stop hiding." I wanted to tell him that he helped me start living. But some truths don't need to be said to be heard. The next morning he left first. He grabbed his bag, paused at the door, looked back once. "See you around?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "You will." And I meant it. He walked out. I stood there for a long time, looking at the space he left behind. It felt both empty and full at once, like something had ended, but something else had quietly begun. That summer we texted sometimes. Not every day, but often enough. Sometimes he sent me pictures of books he was reading. Sometimes I sent him songs I thought he'd like. Sometimes we said nothing at all and just watched the typing bubble come and go. We saw each other once, halfway through July. We met at a diner downtown. We didn't talk about the past. We just sat across from each other, two people with shared history and no need to explain it. When we said goodbye, he hugged me. Tight, real, no hesitation. Years later, I still remember the first time he touched my hand. Not because it was romantic, but because it made me feel like I wasn't invisible. And I think that's what love is, in its most honest form. Not loud, not perfect, just someone seeing you and staying.